Spit slid down Mike's cheek as Mr. Sterling leaned over the hood of a gleaming Bentley and hissed through a smile stretched thin with rage. "You trash! You did this! You scratched my car! You hear me? You'll pay for it!" Then his voice rose to a public howl that bounced off the concrete pillars. "Get on your knees and look at it, boy. Look at what you did. This isn't your bus stop. This is a Bentley. You'll scrub it with your tongue if I say so." He jabbed a finger at the long, chalky line on the front fender. Then he spit again, a wet smack on Mike's other cheek, and shoved his shoulder hard enough to make him stumble. "Before we see how this ends," the narrator's voice cut in steady and urgent, "smash that subscribe button and ring the bell. This will be the worst mistake of this man's life, and you don't want to miss how justice lands." Mike did not wipe his face. He stood, one hand still curled around the valet ticket book, the other hanging loose by his leg. He wore a gray polo with the hotel crest and a plastic name tag that said Mike. He took a breath that went all the way down, then met the man's eyes. "Sir," said Mike, his voice low and even, "please step back from the vehicle." "Oh, the janitor speaks," sneered Mr. Sterling, drawing out each word like a slow tear of duct tape. "No. You step back. You step back. You keep those dirty hands behind your back, and you pray your shift ends before I get you fired, sued, and thrown out on your head." Luis, another valet in a faded cap, stepped forward from the booth, eyes wide. "Mike, you good?" asked Luis, glancing at Mike's face and the wet smear across his cheek. "I'm fine," said Mike, eyes still on Mr. Sterling. "Call Dana." "She better come running," shouted Mr. Sterling, turning to the empty garage ramp as if he could summon the entire hotel with his voice. "Where's your manager? Where's the adult? Are there any adults here or just a bunch of whining, slow, sloppy—" He let the word hang, then picked one viciously. "Savage valet clowns who can't tell paint from dirt." A couple in cocktail clothes paused near the elevator and turned to look. The woman pulled her wrap closer as if the air had cooled. The man's hand went to his phone. Dana came quick, her shoes slapping the concrete, her blonde hair tucked into a tight bun. Her face was all customer service calm until she saw Mike's cheek. "What happened?" asked Dana, breathless but professional. "What happened?" said Mr. Sterling, cutting in. "Is your boy scratched my Bentley, then mouthed off. He'll be lucky if I don't have him cleaning toilets by midnight. I want your general manager, now!" "Sir, let's take a breath," said Dana, hands open, palms out. "We'll review the cameras, we'll document the—" "No," barked Mr. Sterling, stepping toward her as if to intimidate her as well. "There is nothing to review. This is fresh. He did it. Look at his face. Look at his hands. He smells like cheap soap and excuses." Luis shifted his weight. "We don't touch the cars without recording the condition," said Luis. "We put a note on the ticket. You can see it." "Don't lie for him," snapped Mr. Sterling. He pivoted back to Mike. "You look at it." Mike finally turned his head and looked at the fender. He stepped closer. He bent, careful not to touch. He breathed. "Sir," said Mike, words careful, each one laid down like a floorboard, "this mark is old. It's oxidized." "Oxidized," mocked Mr. Sterling, rolling the word around like a cigar. "Oxidized like your resume. Good one. You think I was born yesterday? You think I don't know what a scratch looks like? Don't play science at me, boy." Mike reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, folded microfiber cloth. He held it up between two fingers to show it was clean. He brushed the edge of the mark with the lightest touch, then showed the cloth again. It stayed clean. "If it was fresh," said Mike, "you'd see paint." "You're not touching my car with your rag," screamed Mr. Sterling, as if Mike had rubbed the cloth across a Rembrandt. "That's it. Security! Security! Get over here and drag this trash away from my car." The word bounced, then landed heavy on the garage floor. Trash. Luis took a step toward Mr. Sterling, then stopped when Mike's finger flicked a barely there signal. Mike's eyes never left Mr. Sterling. Head of security Brooks came down the ramp at a steady march, radio at his shoulder, two uniformed guards behind him. "What's the issue?" asked Brooks, eyes scanning the faces. "This idiot scratched my car," said Mr. Sterling, jabbing the Bentley as if it had done him a personal betrayal. "Then he put his filthy rag on it. He spit on me by being here. Look at him. He should be wearing an apron and saying yes, sir, and no, sir, and he should definitely not be breathing near my car without permission. Sir, said Brooks' voice flat, I need you to keep your hands to yourself and lower your voice. Mr. Sterling took a short, dangerous step toward Mike, thrusting his chin forward. You think you can hide, boy? You think that little badge makes you somebody? I'll call whoever I want. I'll call the owner. I'll own you. I'll own this whole garage. You're small. You are nothing. He spat again, a quick, ugly spray. Brooks stiffened. Dana's mouth opened, then closed. Luis's hands curled into fists. Mike reached up and wiped his cheek with the edge of his sleeve, slow and silent. He nodded once to Brooks. Sir, said Mike, are you done? I'll be done when you're on your knees with your nose on the concrete apologizing to my car, said Mr. Sterling. Now pick up that rag and get to work, you little monkey, before I make a phone call you won't recover from. Brooks moved, quick and clean, stepping between them. We're going to take statements, said Brooks. Everyone calm down. Statements? Said Mr. Sterling, laughing an ugly noise. Here's my statement. A bent valet boy scratched my Bentley and now he wants to teach me about science. Get your manager. Get the owner. Get the police. I want this clown in cuffs. Dana looked at Mike. Call the police, said Mike, quiet. Brooks raised his radio. They're on the way, said Brooks. Good, said Mr. Sterling. I hope they bring a leash. The couple by the elevator disappeared behind the doors. A few more guests drifted in from the lobby, drawn by the noise. A phone came up, its red recording light blinking. Luis blew out a breath he had been holding. You sure you're good? Asked Luis, voice barely above a whisper. I'm fine, said Mike. The air in the garage felt heavier now. The Bentley sat like a stage prop in a crime. Overhead, the concrete ridges hummed with traffic and the distant promise of rain. Mr. Sterling paced in a tight little circle, phone to his ear now, his voice dropping into a growl as he bragged to someone invisible. Yes, at the Grand Ventura. Tell him it's me. Tell him it's urgent. No, I don't have time to explain to some assistant. Put him on. The elevator dinged. The doors opened. Abby, the concierge, stepped out, her smile laser-etched until she saw the tension. Behind her, Clive, the front office manager, kept pace, cheeks flushed from a fast walk. Clive stopped when he saw the spit on Mike's cheek. Sir, said Clive, turning to Mr. Sterling, I'm Clive from the front office. Let's move this away from the ramp. I'm not moving, snapped Mr. Sterling. You bring the owner to me. Not to your janitor closet, to me. Dana shot Mike a look that carried a question and a plan. Mike gave the smallest nod. What's the name on the reservation? Asked Clive. You know my name, snarled Mr. Sterling. It's on the top floor, the big suite, the only one that matters, Sterling, like the silver you don't know how to polish. Thank you, Mr. Sterling, said Clive, tone tight. We'll make this right. You'll make it expensive, said Mr. Sterling, or I will. Two officers came down the ramp now, dark blue uniforms steady in the sea of chaos, Officer Daniels and Officer Kim. Their eyes took the scene in with one sweep. Evening, said Officer Daniels. We got a call. He assaulted me, said Mr. Sterling, immediately pointing at Mike. He scratched my car. He threatened me, and then he tried to touch my vehicle with a rag. That's assault. Officer Kim's mouth twitched, but she kept her face neutral. Assault is a threat with the ability to carry it out, said Officer Kim. Battery is unwanted physical contact. Did anyone touch anyone? He pushed me, said Mike finally. He also spit on me twice. Officer Daniels turned to Mr. Sterling. Sir, did you spit on him? He got in my face, said Mr. Sterling. He was screwing with my car. He was smiling at me. What do you expect? He's got that look like he's about to cry and beg, and I'm not in the mood. Sir, did you spit on him? Repeated Officer Daniels, voice a notch heavier. I did what I needed to do, said Mr. Sterling. You people need to understand boundaries. Officer Kim's eyes flicked to the little red light on the phone in the crowd. Any video? Asked Officer Kim, looking at Brooks. Brooks looked at Mike. Mike looked back at Brooks and nodded once. Yeah, said Brooks, we've got coverage. Mr. Sterling barked a laugh. You think I'm scared of your cameras? You think I'm scared of any of this? I know what I saw. That scratch is fresh. Mike reached down to the valet stand and picked up a small plastic sleeve. He slid a card out and held it gently. Then he tucked it back in. "Officer," said Mike, "I'd like to file a battery report." "We can do that," said Officer Daniels. "We'll need your ID, sir." Mr. Sterling rolled his eyes and pulled a wallet from his jacket with a flourish meant to show the world he never had to wait for anything. He held his ID up like a threat. "Dana," said Clive under his breath, "we should get legal looped in." "Already texted," whispered Dana. The garage went quiet in that way that only feels quiet because everyone has gone to their corners to sharpen their knives. Abby cleared her throat gently. "Mr. Sterling, can I get you some water?" she asked, the professional kindness in her voice unbreakable. "I don't want anything from you," said Mr. Sterling, looking her up and down. "You should go back upstairs and fluff some pillows. This is men's work." Abby's hand tightened around the water bottle she had come down with. She put it on the valet stand and stepped back, her face calm, her eyes hard. Louise shifted closer to Mike so that his shoulder almost touched his. "We got you," he murmured. "I know," said Mike. Officer Daniels flipped open a small notepad. "Let's break this down," he said. "Mr. Sterling, you're alleging property damage?" "I'm alleging incompetence and criminal negligence and whatever else you want to call it," said Mr. Sterling. "I'm alleging a peasant with a polo and a name tag can't stop himself from scratching what he can't afford." "Okay," said Officer Daniels. "And you, sir," he said to Mike, "are alleging battery." "Yes," said Mike. "Any witnesses?" asked Officer Kim. "Half the garage," said Luis. "We also have cameras," said Brooks. "We'll review those," said Officer Kim. "For now, nobody touches the vehicle." "Except the detailer I'm about to call," said Mr. Sterling, swaggering with his phone again, "because I am not driving this thing around looking like someone keyed me outside a diner." "That would be tampering with potential evidence," said Officer Kim calmly. Mr. Sterling laughed again, all teeth. "Evidence. Cute." From the elevator, another man stepped out. He wore a suit that looked like money. Smooth face, slick hair. He moved like he expected people to move for him. He did not introduce himself. He walked straight to Mr. Sterling. "Took you long enough, Victor," snapped Mr. Sterling. "Tell them who we are." Victor gave a quick smile that never reached his eyes. "We're not discussing anything without counsel," he said, even though he was obviously counsel. "Step back from my client." "We haven't stepped toward him," said Officer Daniels. Victor turned to Mike and looked him up and down like he was a smudge on a glass door. "Do you know what you've done?" asked Victor, the question more threat than curiosity. "I know what he did," said Mike quietly. Victor smirked. "He's not the one dressed for a minimum wage fantasy." Luis bristled. "Hey!" "It's fine," said Mike. Clive cleared his throat. "Let's move upstairs," he tried again. "We're staying right here," said Mr. Sterling, lifting his chin. "The world will see this." "The world is seeing it," said Abby, glancing at the recording light on the phone in the crowd. "And they're hearing you." "Good," said Mr. Sterling. "Let them. Maybe it will teach a lesson to anyone else who thinks they can scuff a Bentley and get a pat on the head." Mike took another breath. Then he finally stepped forward, just a half inch, just enough to change the air. "I need to make something clear," said Mike, his voice steady and unhurried, aimed more at the air than at any one person. "I'm here tonight as a valet, but that's not my only job." Victor snorted. "Here we go." Mike didn't look at him. "My name is Michael Cole," said Mike, to the officers, to Brooks, to Dana, to Clive, to the camera with the red light. "I am a licensed field investigator contracted by Sentinel Mutual Insurance Company. Tonight, I am here on assignment. I am investigating a pattern of claims made by Mr. Sterling over the past year." It was like a frozen frame. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. Then Victor tried to laugh and ended up with a cough. "What is this?" asked Victor, the laugh turning into a sneer. "A hidden camera prank? Do you have a fake badge to go with your fake job?" Mike reached into the pocket of his polo and pulled out a slim leather wallet. He flipped it open. A small official card with his name, his photo, and the Sentinel Mutual Insurance Company crest gleamed under the fluorescent light. He held it so that Officer Daniels and Officer Kim could see. Officer Daniels leaned in, his eyes flicked to the seal, to the number, to Mike's face. He nodded. Victor's smile thinned. "So you're an insurance spy," he said. "Cute." "Mr. Sterling," said Mike, his eyes finally landing on the man again. "Over the past 12 months, you've filed 6 claims with 3 different carriers for alleged dents, scratches, and a cracked headlight. 2 of those claims were made within 48 hours of checking into a hotel with valet service. In each case, you allege the damage occurred on hotel property. In each case, you refused to allow the hotel to inspect the vehicle before calling your carrier. And in each case, you made a point of causing a public scene." Victor's jaw moved, a flex like he was chewing air. "Stop talking," said Victor to Mr. Sterling under his breath. "What?" said Mr. Sterling, voice suddenly too loud in the hush. "He doesn't know anything. He's making it up." Dana's eyes slid to Clive. Clive's throat bobbed. "We don't discuss claims in public," said Victor, finding a legal tone. "We'll file a complaint against Sentinel for harassment if you don't back off." "I'm not here to harass anyone," said Mike. "I'm here to document." Mike nodded at Brooks. Brooks nodded back and tapped his radio again. "We have the arrival camera," said Brooks. "We have footage of the vehicle pulling in." "You'll get sued if you share that without a warrant," said Victor. Brooks smiled without humor. "Comes with the check-in, counselor." Officer Kim raised an eyebrow. "We can view it," she said. "Voluntary cooperation is appreciated." Abby looked like someone had loosened a strap around her chest. Luis's mouth opened in a slow wow. "Show them," said Mike. Brooks held his phone up, tapped, scrolled, then cast the video to a screen mounted near the valet booth. The grainy footage showed a Bentley gliding down the ramp. As it rolled beneath the camera, the front fender caught the light at a certain angle, and a dull line flashed across it. "Pause," said Mike. "Zoom." Brooks did what he could. The line was there, unmistakable. "What do you know?" murmured Officer Daniels. Victor spread his hands. "That could be anything." "It's the same panel," said Brooks. "Same mark." "Lighting artifact," said Victor. "Then why is the mark in the same place in the photos from last week?" asked Mike. "Photos?" asked Officer Kim. "Public posts," said Abby quickly, eager to help. "People love to post their cars in front of our fountain. We have a photo from last week when he pulled up for dinner. Same side of the car." "Do not memory hole me with Instagram," snapped Victor. "It's not Instagram," said Abby. "The guest tagged our property and my social team pulled it into our story. We have a copy." "Show me," said Officer Kim. Abby pulled out her phone, scrolled, then held it up. A crisp image of the Bentley in front of the hotel's arched entrance lit the screen. If you look closely, the right angle of late afternoon sun pulled a faint slash out of the paint. "You're seeing ghosts," said Victor, but his voice had fewer teeth. Mr. Sterling's face had gone pink, then red, then a slow, blotchy whine. "You people are colluding," said Mr. Sterling. "You're all against me. This is a setup." Mike's mouth tipped in a small, sad smile. "You're right," he said. "What?" snapped Mr. Sterling. "It is a setup," said Mike. "A test." "Stop talking," said Victor, panic climbing into his tone now. "I've been waiting for you to come here," said Mike, voice still quiet, still low. "We've been tracking your pattern, and we needed you to show it again." Mr. Sterling took a half step back. He looked at the Bentley like he wanted to throw it at someone. "I'm calling the owner," said Mr. Sterling, grasping at the threat that usually ended all arguments for him. "I'm calling the owner of this place. He's a friend. He'll make you disappear." "Call him," said Mike. Mr. Sterling thumbed his phone with hands that were shaking now. He raised it to his ear and put it on speaker. It rang twice, 3 times. Then a calm voice answered. "This is Michael." "Mike," blurted Mr. Sterling, his tone flipping like a coin to instant chumminess and entitlement. "It's your boy from the Sterling Group. I'm at the Grand Ventura. Your staff just scratched my Bentley and now they're trying to humiliate me in your garage. Get down here and fix this. Fire someone." There was a pause, brief like a heartbeat where the world held its breath with him. "I'm here," said Mike, the exact same quiet voice, not from the phone but from 2 feet away. Mr. Sterling blinked. He looked at the phone, then looked at Mike. He looked back down at the phone like maybe it held a different reality. "Take it off speaker," whispered Victor. "Take it off speaker now." Mr. Sterling fumbled and hit the button. The line went dead. His hand hung in the air, then dropped. "What is this?" he said. Clive's mouth opened. Dana's eyes flashed. Abby's hand flew to her chest, like she could steady her own heart with fingers. Mike lightly tucked his investigator wallet away. He held Mr. Sterling's gaze and let the silence stretch just long enough to become uncomfortable. "I told you," said Mike. "It's a test." A ripple moved through the small crowd. Someone whispered, "No way." Luis's grin broke all the way across his face. "No way," he echoed, but under his breath as if speaking too loud would break the spell. Mike's next words landed like the flip of a final card. I'm not only a field investigator," said Mike. "I'm the managing partner of Ventura Hospitality Group. The parent company owns this hotel and the garage you're standing in. I bought the chain 3 years ago. I work the floor once a week because I like to see how people treat my staff when they think no one important is watching." The silence became sound. It had weight. Victor made a small strangled noise like a kettle choking on its own steam. Clive's face went pale, then flushed with something like relief, like pride, like vindication. Brooks let his eyebrows climb as high as they wanted to. Abby's eyes filled with sudden pink-edged tears. She blinked them back and laughed once, a surprise bubble of sound squeezed out by tension. Luis punched the air silently, his mouth forming the word yes. Dana's hand went to her mouth. She lowered it. She stood taller. Mr. Sterling's next laugh was too high. It broke in the middle. "This is a joke," he said, looking around for someone to join him in pretending. "That's not possible. You're a valet." "I am," said Mike, "tonight." "You're lying," said Mr. Sterling, but his voice wobbled. "You can call the number on my business card," said Mike. "Ask for me, or ask for our general counsel, Marla, or ask for our chair. But we can skip that part and go straight to the part where you answer for what you did." "Which was?" asked Officer Daniels. "Battery," said Mike, "on me twice, and attempted fraud again." Victor found his voice like a person clawing up out of icy water. "This is insane," he said. "Even if any of this is true, and it isn't, you're entrapped." "It's not entrapment," said Officer Kim, almost gentle in her correction. "He's not law enforcement. He's a private party documenting behavior." Victor swallowed. Mike cocked his head, thoughtful. "Victor," he said, "I've seen your name on 3 of those claims as well. Funny how you always arrive right on time." Victor's smile collapsed into something pinched and mean. "You don't know what you're talking about," he said softly, almost like a prayer to himself. Mike raised a hand and curled his fingers, calling something forward without speaking. Dana's phone buzzed. She glanced at it. "It's Marla," said Dana. She answered, turned on speaker. "Marla, we're in the garage." "Put me near Mike," said a crisp voice. Dana held the phone out. Mike leaned in. "Hey," said Marla's voice, cool and clean like a blade. "You ready?" "Yes," said Mike. "Good," said Marla. "I've got the Department of Financial Services on standby. I've got Sentinel Special Investigations Unit listening. I've got a judge who really hates insurance fraud on a Sunday night. You want me to pull the lever?" "Not yet," said Mike, glancing at Officer Daniels. "Let's finish with the police." Officer Daniels nodded, already writing. "We'll take statements," he said. "Then we'll ask Mr. Sterling to wait while we review video and evidence." "I'm not waiting," said Mr. Sterling. "You are," said Brooks, his voice the same tone you use with someone standing on a ledge. Mr. Sterling puffed himself up. "Do you know who I am?" he asked, as if the incantation still had power. Mike smiled, soft and sad again. "I do," he said. "I also know what you are doing. You're trying to turn humiliation into dominance. That's your pattern, but tonight is different." Victor leaned close to Mr. Sterling's ear. "Stop talking now," he whispered, urgent. Mr. Sterling flinched like it hurt him to be told what to do. Then he did the only thing he had left that he knew how to do. He started to move toward the Bentley. "Don't touch it," said Officer Kim. "I'm moving it," said Mr. Sterling. "I'm not leaving it in this circus." "Don't touch it," repeated Officer Kim firmer. He grabbed the handle anyway. Brooks took one long step and his hand landed on the roof. His voice was a low thunder. "Do not touch the vehicle," he said, per officer instruction. Mr. Sterling pulled his hand back like the metal had burned him. "Listen," said Victor, almost frantic now. "We will go upstairs. We will discuss this like adults. We will arrange for a private payment to make this go away." "No," said Mike. "That's the last gate you always run for. Tonight it's closed." Victor's mouth opened and closed. Then he did something small and ugly. He leaned back in toward Mr. Sterling and hissed, "Say you're sorry." "What?" said Mr. Sterling, eyes wide. "To him, to this." "To the person you spit on in front of half the hotel," said Victor, sweat now shining faintly at his hairline. "Say you're sorry now." Mr. Sterling's mouth twisted. He looked at Mike and tried to find the guy he had started with, the one with the rag and the name tag and the quiet voice. He couldn't find him. Mike looked like a different man because he was, or maybe he always had been. "I will not," said Mr. Sterling, and he put more hate into each word than they deserved. "I will not apologize to anyone who thinks he can play games with me. I will not apologize to someone who should know his place." Officer Daniels' pen paused. His eyes went very calm. "Okay," said Officer Daniels softly. From the ramp, a flatbed tow truck's amber lights flickered as it descended, answering a silent call. The driver, a compact man in a fluorescent vest named Gio, leaned out of his cab and looked at Brooks for a sign. Brooks lifted his chin to indicate the Bentley. Gio's eyebrows rose. He put the truck in park and hopped down. "We're not towing my car," said Mr. Sterling, voice pitching up. "We are," said Mike. "With the owner's permission, mine, for evidence, and for non-payment of parking charges if you want the petty reason." "You can't," started Victor. "Watch us," said Abby, her voice almost a whisper but sharp as glass. Gio got to work with the quiet precision of a man who had done this 1,000 times. He slid the skates, he set the hooks, he checked the clearance. The Bentley looked suddenly small with its nose lifted. "This is illegal," said Victor, grabbing at land that had already eroded beneath his feet. "Counselor," said Marla's voice from Dana's phone, sweet as peaches and twice as dangerous. "I'd love for you to cite the statute you think we're violating, while my friend from the Department of Financial Services listens in. Maybe the one about impairing an investigation, or the one about filing a false claim, or the one about trying to induce a witness to alter a report with a bribe." Victor went a shade closer to Ash. "How about we all take a breath?" said Clive, the kind of gentle that sounds like a lullaby before a shot. Officer Daniels closed his notebook. He tucked it into his breast pocket. He looked at Mr. Sterling, at Victor, at Mike, at the crowd. "Mr. Sterling," said Officer Daniels, "you are under arrest for battery. You have the right to remain silent." "What?" shouted Mr. Sterling. "You can't be serious." Officer Kim stepped forward, firm but respectful. "Turn around and place your hands behind your back," she said. Victor started to splutter. "Save it," said Marla through the phone, her voice not unkind, as if she were telling a child not to touch a hot pan. People who had stayed quiet now let tiny sounds out, a gasp, a murmur, a soft, surprised laugh. Phones lifted, the red lights kept blinking. "Brooks," said Mike calmly. "On it," said Brooks. The same two guards who had flanked Brooks when he came down the ramp moved now, not to Mr. Sterling, to Victor. "Counselor," said Brooks, "you're coming too, not as a suspect, as a witness. I want you in the room when he's arraigned so that you can explain why your client thought tonight was a good night to step on a man and got stepped on back." "Brooks," said Mike again, and there was a different weight on his name this time. Brooks looked at Mike. Mike tilted his head toward the elevator. "Bring him up the same way he wanted to bring me down," said Mike softly. Brooks understood the mirror. Officer Kim turned Mr. Sterling gently but firmly. His hands went behind his back. The cuffs made their quiet ratchet sound, a sound like a lid sealing on a jar, a sound like a door closing. As they started to walk, Mike fell into step just enough to set the pace. He did not touch Mr. Sterling. He did not speak to him. He simply walked where Mr. Sterling could see him if he turned his head. They passed the spot where Mr. Sterling had demanded Mike get on his knees. They passed the valet stand where the rag still lay folded like an unanswered letter. They passed Gio, who was tightening the last strap with a professional's grace. "Careful," said Gio to the car like to a skittish horse. Mr. Sterling turned his head, a jerk, a twitch. His eyes found Mike's face. "You set me up," said Mr. Sterling, hate and disbelief wrapped in a thin film of fear. "You made me do this." "I gave you a chance," said Mike. "You took it." They reached the elevator. The crowd parted. The doors slid open with a polite chime that sounded like applause if you wanted it to. Brooks held the door. Officer Kim guided Mr. Sterling inside. "Wait," said Victor, scrambling. "You can't take him through the lobby. He'll be seen." "That's the point," said Abby almost tenderly. The doors closed. Down in the garage, Gio clicked the last latch. He raised a hand to Brooks. "We rolling?" "Wait for the officers go," said Brooks. "Once they clear it, take it straight to the impound. Chain of custody." "Copy," said Gio. Luis blew out a breath that turned into a shaky laugh. He looked at Mike like he was seeing him for the first time. "Man," said Luis, "I knew you were different, but not like that." "Still me," said Mike, a hint of a smile now allowed to creep to the surface. Dana reached out and touched Mike's sleeve. "Thank you," she said, "for being here, for this." "I'm always here," said Mike, and he meant under the words as much as above them. Upstairs, the lobby became a mirror. The elevator doors opened on marble and gold. A chandelier threw light like rain. People turned, drawn by the sudden appearance of uniforms, and a man in cuffs who was supposed to be untouchable. Brooks walked ahead, that steady march. Officer Kim guided Mr. Sterling. Officer Daniels flanked. The path cut through the center of the lobby, past the front desk, past the fountain where couples took photos for their feeds, past the lounge where half the city came to be seen. Clive stepped out from behind the desk, composed now in a way that felt like a rising tide. He nodded at Mike, who had come up after them, his presence a quiet gravity that bent the room around him. "Mr. Sterling," said Clive, loud enough for the guests to hear, soft enough not to be cruel, "your suite has been canceled. Your charges will be settled according to policy. You are not welcome in any Ventura Hospitality property going forward. We'll be sending a formal letter after your arraignment." "This is slander," said Victor, trailing, helpless. "It's a public safety announcement," said Clive, "for the comfort of our guests and the dignity of our staff." Abby stood near the concierge desk like a witness for the prosecution. Her eyes were red, but her chin was up. "Good evening," she said to a couple who asked what was happening, her voice smooth. "We're simply ensuring our code of conduct is enforced." The doors to the street opened. The night air reached in with a cool hand. Officer Kim guided Mr. Sterling toward the squad car idling at the curb. Flashing lights painted the fountain and the flowers with red and blue. "Michael," said Marla's voice in Mike's ear. Speaker now off, phone held close. "The department just pinged me. They're filing an immediate hold on all open claims connected to Sterling. There's a flag on his record now. If he sneezes near a bumper, we'll know." "Thanks," said Mike. "Also," said Marla, a smile in her voice, "the judge texted me a thumbs up. He said, and I quote, 'Nice work, Mr. Cole.'" Mike huffed a small laugh. "Tell him I said thanks," he said. "Already did," said Marla. "Want me to call the station and ask for protective custody?" He seems like the type to pick a fight with the wrong person in the holding cell. "Officer Kim's got him," said Mike. "He'll be fine. I'm not here to destroy him, just to stop him." "That's why you own a hotel chain," said Marla, "and why people want to work for you." "Maybe," said Mike. He hung up and looked around his lobby. Outside, the back door of the squad car closed. Mr. Sterling stared out the window at the life he had just lost the keys to. His mouth moved as if he was trying to say something that would make time reverse. But the car pulled away, smooth, quiet, efficient. Gio's tow truck rolled out of the garage a few minutes later with the Bentley strapped down like a prize and a warning. He gave a little two-finger salute to Brooks, who returned it. Luis leaned on the valet podium and watched the truck turn at the corner. He looked at Mike and shook his head in wonder. "Never in a million years," said Luis. "Try 3, said Mike, dry. Dana laughed in a way that released something heavy she had been holding. She wiped a hand under her eye and smiled at Abby. Abby smiled back, a look that said, "I'm okay, and we're okay, and this place is something different." Clive straightened a stack of brochures he had already straightened 3 times that hour. He looked at Mike. "So," said Clive, very, very polite now in a way that had nothing to do with fear and everything to do with respect, "do I schedule a staff meeting for tomorrow morning, or are we doing this now?" "Tomorrow," said Mike. "Everyone's tense tonight. Let them sleep." Brooks came up, his radio quiet at his shoulder now, the static of adrenaline gone. He stuck out his hand. Mike took it. "Nice work," said Brooks. "Same to you," said Mike. A woman from the lounge, a regular who always tipped big and asked after the servers' kids, walked over. "Was that the man who was yelling in the garage?" she asked, eyes big. "It was," said Abby from behind the concierge desk, her voice gentle. "Good," said the woman. "Good. I'm glad someone finally, you know?" Mike nodded. He knew. Victor lingered like a shadow that did not know where to go when the light changed. He ran a hand through his perfect hair and found it less perfect. He walked toward Mike, stopped, started, stopped again. "Look," said Victor, the word coming out like an apology he didn't know how to make. "This got out of hand." "It started out of hand," said Mike. "It just finally got handled." "You made a big show," said Victor. "You did," said Mike. "You tried to, and then it turned into this." Victor worked his jaw. He's not a bad person," he said, as if to convince himself. He'll have to figure that out," said Mike, "without making us his lesson." Victor nodded slowly, like a man learning to bow. He turned and left, shrinking a little with each step toward the doors. The night settled again. Guests returned to their conversations. The fountain kept doing its job, water catching light and making small music. The hotel exhaled. Down in the garage, Brooks and Gio did a quick walk of the perimeter to make sure nothing else had been damaged. Luis pulled a fresh valet ticket from the roll. Mike finally went back to the spot where the whole thing had started. He looked at the concrete. He looked at the faint trace of spit drying in a quick arc where it had landed. He took out his clean microfiber cloth and he wiped it away, not as an act of cleanup, but as a line drawn under a story. Luis came up and nudged him with an elbow. "You know," said Luis, "when you asked me last week if I ever felt like someone was watching, I didn't think you meant you. Like that, boss?" Mike chuckled. "It's still Mike," he said. Yeah, said Luis, "until tips out." "We'll talk about tips out," said Mike, and the way he said it made Luis light up. Dana approached, hands clasped. "We'll have a few guests who were uncomfortable," she said. "We'll comp where we need to. We'll explain where we can." "I trust you," said Mike. "Tell them what you saw, or don't. You know how to handle people when they're upset." Dana nodded. "I love this job," she said suddenly, like it surprised her to say it out loud. "I know," said Mike. "That's why you have it." Abby drifted down, tucked a stray hair behind her ear, and looked at Mike the way you look at a friend who just proved something you always suspected. "Did you always plan to tell us?" asked Abby. "Tonight," asked Mike. "Ever," said Abby. Mike took a breath. "People treat the person they think I am," he said. "It tells me who they are, and it tells me who you are. I've learned more on the floor in one night than I have in a week of reports." Abby smiled. "I'm going to put that on a coaster," she said. "We'll sell it in the gift shop." "Put my face on it and I'll cut you in," said Mike, playing. "Deal," said Abby. Clive came around the corner with a folded piece of paper. "Incident report," he said. "Draft 1. "Put the body cam footage with it," said Mike. "Body cam?" asked Luis, laughing in surprise. Mike tapped his polo where a small, almost invisible pin glinted. "You know those pins hotels give out?" he said. "Sometimes they write more than names." Luis whistled low. "Man, I'm never talking mess in the break room again." "You shouldn't anyway," said Dana. "Right," said Luis. "Right." Mike looked toward the street through the open mouth of the garage. The night city unfurled, lights like a sheet of stars brought down to a level where you could touch them. He thought of all the nights before, all the people who had walked through his lobby, all the ones who would tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. Brooks's radio crackled. "They booked him," said a voice Mike knew belonged to a sergeant with a soft spot for hotel workers and a hard line for men like Mr. Sterling. Arraignment in the morning. "Thanks," said Brooks into his radio. "Tell your boss nice work," said the sergeant through the static. Brooks looked at Mike. "He said nice work," said Brooks. "Tell him thanks," said Mike. Gio pulled back into the garage, unhitched, and rolled an empty flatbed into the bay with a sigh like a machine relieved of a burden. He waved. "Safe and impound," he said. "Paperwork emailed to whoever needs it." "Send to operations," said Dana, "and legal." "Got it," said Gio. He paused, looked at Mike, and tilted his head. "You're the owner?" he asked. "Sometimes," said Mike. Gio grinned. "Good, this place is different. Keep it that way." "I will," said Mike. Abby's phone vibrated. She looked, then laughed. "We're trending," she said. "Someone posted 20 seconds of the arrest with your face and a caption that says, 'When the valet is the boss.' And, comments. A lot of people saying they've been there. Not here," she added quickly. "I mean with people like him." Mike's smile faded a little at the edges. "Yeah," he said, "I know." Abby reached out and touched his arm, a quick, grateful squeeze. "Tonight was for them," she said. "Yes," said Mike, "and for us. In the morning, there would be calls to answer, statements to file, a press release carefully written to say everything and nothing. There would be rumors to correct and lies to ignore, and a dozen small fires that flare up around any big one. Tonight, there was a garage. There were good people doing a hard job with grace. There was a man who thought he could spit in a face and walk away. And there was a mirror, finally held up, and the reflection that made him look away. If you felt that in your gut, if you've seen this kind of ugliness and wanted to see it turned back on itself, tell us how you would have handled it in Mike's shoes. Have you stood in a place where someone tried to make you small? Share your story in the comments. Like this video if you think justice landed where it needed to, and send it to a friend who needs to remember that people who look down at you might be looking up when it counts.